To be successful in the world of show jumping, you must demonstrate extreme patience, have a diligent work ethic, and when the right horse comes along, have an unwavering faith. Back in the early 80s, a young thoroughbred named Kahlua tested that acumen for everyone who crossed his path.
My friend Nancy Wetmore phoned me and said, "Come on over, I have a horse that you might like." And he was a good mover, and he was 4 years old, and she went down and jumped the first jump, and I went, "You better get off him because you're going to get hurt."
He hung his front leg so badly that I wouldn't have put my child on that horse.
Kahlua eventually ended up in the hands of a young Toronto girl named Lisa Carlsen.
I'll tell you what I think about him, just let me see him. Before, I think they were going to get rid of him because everybody had told them, get rid of this horse.
My first thoughts were, boy, what a skinny, lanky horse.
And she rides around, she gives it a few jumps, and I said to her, I love this horse.
That was it. Team Carlsen was born. 15-year-old Lisa, professional rider and trainer Danny Foster, co-trainer Barb Mitchell, and a four-legged dynamo whose potential seemed limitless.
So I'm making this international tour. I have a pretty good top horse, and I'm going to go to Spruce Meadows, and I'm going to Vancouver and California for a couple of weeks, and we all agreed, hey, why don't you take Kahlua as your second horse and take him around, and maybe we'll find out if he's any good or not.
He called me from Washington and said, "I'm going in the Puissance." And I said, "With whom?" And he said, "With Kahlua." I said,
He rode to it and never changed his stride, never changed a thing about the way he went to it. He looked at it like any, and you're talking about a jump you can't even see the other side of at that point. And he jumped that thing. So I'm convinced to this day that he would have jumped the world record that night.
So it was off to MSG, the Big Apple. And wouldn't you know it if Danny's first horse could not go. And suddenly, Kahlua was center stage.
The big international class, the Nations Cup class, is coming up. He's never jumped at that level. I've never jumped. I've only jumped him as speed and some puissance, but I've never jumped him in a class like that before. So myself and Tom Gayford, we got up early in the morning and gave him a little jump practice and an in and out and did what we thought we could to get him ready. And that horse went in the Garden in New York and jumped the only double clean of the whole Nations Cup that night. Did it so easily and so beautifully, and that was the first moment I thought, boy, oh boy, this is a superstar.
The challenge now? Matching the superstar horse with the petite young girl who had a bucket full of courage, but a lot to learn.
When they were young, they made some mistakes, and they'd hit a rail and the horse would fall down and Lisa would fall down, and they'd come back the next class and wouldn't be intimidated at all, just go right at it again.
She had to learn how to balance her balance and her timing so that it could work for the way that he went about his jump because of the manner that he jumped and with so much power and thrust.
Just kept going and higher and higher. And next thing you know, she's not only competing in the Grand Prix, she's winning a lot of Canadian Grand Prix.
Up the ladder the two would climb, and at age 19, Lisa and Kahlua would win the Canadian National Show Jumping Championships.
he rarely hit a jump. He was very, very quick. Every time she entered a Grand Prix, she was a definite challenge to all of the big guys riding with her. And she was still a kid compared to Ian and all the big riders. They had trouble beating the kid on the little bay horse.
Rarely come across a more aggressive, competitive, talented young rider than Lisa Carlsen. So they were a very, very ferocious duo when they got into a jump off.
Under the tutelage of Torchy Millar, the pair would win the Canadian Championships again in 1985. In 5 years, Lisa and Kahlua had gone from the junior jumper ranks all the way to the top.
He was such a little horse with such a huge stride, and to develop him from a really a young horse to the top. Doesn't happen very often.
What was so special about Kahlua was that he taught Lisa as he went, but he also, it's like that partnership was just meant to be. And I don't think that horse would have tried or given the results that he gave to Lisa to anyone else. It was just kismet.
2 years later, they found themselves in Indianapolis at the 1987 Pan Am Games on a team that included Big Ben. With arguably the best 1-2 punch Canada has ever had, the team gold medal was secured with the lowest number of faults in the history of the competition.
The horse and the girl, oh, such a team. They loved each other to death. They believed there was that horse, if he could really answer you, and you'd say, well, he did answer. He answered so often in the ring. When she would ask him to do something, and he'd say, Lisa, if that's what you want, I'll do it.
He had courage beyond belief, and that was matched by Lisa's courage. She's one of the most courageous riders that I've ever seen.
Lisa and Kahlua's journey was complete when they secured a spot on the 1988 Olympic team. Lisa and Kahlua would win Grand Prix and Nations Cups all over North America, and do it in a style all their own.
So far in this round, she's riding like a seasoned veteran, and yet she's so young. Keep in mind, these horses are getting tired. They've already done 2 complete rounds. Now the riders have to encourage. There's a good turn. She's looking for fence number 7. You can hear her yelling at Kahlua. Now another great turn to the triple bar.
That's a good turn.
Way off the base. Oh, she gets over it.
Pull yourself together, she does. And look at that time, 31.41. And Canada's first 2 are clear. And that puts the pressure on the French.
I gotta have another look at this to believe it. Look at how far away she was. What a great horse Kahlua was to her. Another look. Airborne, hang time, and clean.
Lisa sort of came right out of nowhere, though. She's no horse background, you know. She's a kid from Toronto, from the city. She represented every young girl who had a dream about riding and making it to the top. So people gravitated. She was in the magazines, the media took to her. She was a darling. She was gracious, she was elegant, she carried her success very well. It was what our sport is all about, really. It's, you know, good values and achieving and working hard for things and then having those things. I think was just a great story at the time.
Kahlua, the horse that nobody wanted to ride, became the horse that nobody could believe, and eventually, one of the most memorable horses this country has ever seen.
Danny believed in him, Lisa believed in him, and I believed in him. And he believed in us.
I think for some years after, it took her a while to, you know, realize that not all horses were Kahlua, because I think when you have that amount of success and it comes that easily, it must be, you know, you must think that, wow, this is the way all horses are, and it was just quite a ridiculously talented horse. And with Lisa, they achieved, you know, immeasurable success.
Kahlua is that fairy tale story that you wish there were more of them, where a young girl finds a thoroughbred horse that not everybody thought had talent or liked, and in my mind, the horse is one of the greatest horses that's ever been in Canada.